I understand what you're insinuating, that I married for money. Stop spreading such baseless rumors. Isn't it obvious? Someone like you, a poor single mother, that's why you continue to stay even after your husband is gone. You're really an eyesore every day. I, Mia, 35 years old, endure such snide remarks from Emma. My father passed away when I was very young, and I was raised in a single-parent family. Thankfully, my mom worked hard even after getting married, so we weren't destitute, but we certainly weren't wealthy. Still, my mom remained cheerful and worked tirelessly for me. Growing up, I never felt particularly lonely. I had plans to start working after high school, but my mom had diligently saved up for my college education. Despite my love for studying and the desire to go to college, I couldn't bear to burden my hardworking mom. So I gave up on the idea. When my mom suggested that I go to college, I was overjoyed. In my third year of high school, my active 43-year-old mom told me to pursue the path I liked. She said, "I'm still in my early 40s, and I'm very healthy, Mia. It would hurt me far more if you gave up your future because of financial concerns." I felt tears welling up at my mom's kindness and strength. To help cover tuition, I took on a part-time job. Thanks to that, I graduated from college without taking out student loans. After graduation, I joined a large trading company, working hard every day to make life easier for my mom. Within 5 years, I was promoted to administrative assistant, and my salary increased. I took my mom on trips and bought her the massage chair she had been wanting. 2 years after becoming an administrative assistant, I was recognized at work and chosen to be an executive assistant. My relationship with Ethan, the president's son, progressed to dating and eventually marriage. "Congratulations, Mia. Be happy," Emma said. "Thank you for everything," I replied with deep gratitude, moving my mom to tears. It was a truly joyful time. However, that happiness was short-lived. Just 2 years into our marriage, my husband suddenly passed away. He collapsed clutching his chest at work and was rushed to the hospital. But by the time when I arrived, he had already ceased breathing. That morning, I tearfully watched him leave for work, never imagining such a harsh reality. The shock overwhelmed me to the point where speaking became nearly impossible. It was unfathomable that both mother and daughter would lose their husbands. I could only imagine the grief of Benjamin, the president, who had lost his only son. He appeared so utterly alone, devastated, much like myself. Even after marriage, I continued working as the executive assistant, spending significant time with the president during the day. I witnessed firsthand how disheartened he was. However, amidst the grief, one person didn't seem to mourn at all: Emma. Living together after my marriage, I quickly noticed her indifferent attitude. Emma wasn't related by blood to my husband. Benjamin's real mother passed away when he was just 3 years old. Understanding the challenges of raising a child alone, he remarried when Benjamin started elementary school, thanks to a friend's introduction. There, if something happens to my hubby, all of his property will be mine," Emma remarked callously. "What are you saying?" "Ethan is gone," I retorted, taken aback. "I was just trying to lighten up the mood. A little cheer might help everyone in these gloomy times," she replied, trying to pass it off as a joke. "Please consider the time and place. You must be upset that your plans fell through." "Now you won't get a single cent of our man's world," I countered, feeling the weight of her words and the insensitivity they carried. I never anticipated such accusations from the start. Can you honestly believe that I would marry a man as honorable and genuine as Ethan if I were after something? Stop talking like that to me. He was irreplaceable. I responded firmly to Emma's insinuations. Emma seemed convinced that I would swiftly pack up and depart as soon as my husband passed away. However, I couldn't bring myself to leave. Benjamin continued to project strength at work, carrying out his duties just as before. Yet from my close observations, it was evident that he was pushing himself too hard. I couldn't fathom leaving the house to someone like Emma. Besides, even though it had only been 2 years, our home was brimming with memories of my beloved husband. I desired to linger in their afterglow for a while. Feelings aren't easily severed. Indeed, The time spent with my husband was a source of profound happiness for me. He once confided that Emma seemed more like a roommate than a mother. She was often out and about, returning home late at night when Benjamin was away on business. Yet my husband chose not to worry Benjamin, who was already consumed by work, and kept quiet about it. Emma displayed kindness when Benjamin was present, but her sudden change in demeanor was drastic. It was as if there were two Emmas. When Benjamin left for work, her smile vanished. "Ah, finally, he's gone. Now, where should I go today? Maybe I'll invite a friend to the movies," Emma remarked casually. "You're going out again?" I questioned. "Yes. Do you have a problem with that?" "Oh, no. Remember, don't bother your father with unnecessary things. He's working hard for you. If you say something, he'll worry and won't be able to concentrate on his work. You should quietly study at home every day, okay?" I understood that it was the daily routine, but apparently, it didn't bother him too much once he got used to it. In fact, he felt more comfortable when he wasn't paid too much attention. When he was a child, he thought of Emma as a chameleon. "Well, I don't really mind. I think of her as Dad's wife, not my mom," Benjamin would often remark. He was always grateful to Emma for being there when his child was small, allowing him to focus on his work. Benjamin's company was a legacy from his step-grandfather, and he seemed to have a knack for running it from the moment he took the helm. The company grew exponentially under his management. Now he was managing 5 businesses, each pulling in an annual revenue of over $100 million. This, of course, meant Benjamin was always insanely busy. My husband used to tell me that when he was a kid, Benjamin barely had time to unwind at home. Seeing Benjamin exhausted from work every day, my husband couldn't bring himself to trouble him with unnecessary issues. That's why he never mentioned Emma. Besides, he didn't feel entirely neglected, so there was no need to bother Benjamin unnecessarily. He was content keeping his concerns about Emma to himself. That's so like him, a relaxed individual. He never struck me as a typical heir to a huge company, I reminisced. "Did you ever get angry about it?" a friend asked. "Nah, not really. I was okay as long as she was home. It gave Dad peace of mind knowing she was there so that he could focus on his work. Plus, we never went hungry, and there were always plenty of snacks," I replied. My husband laughed it off, never making a fuss. I loved that about him. Besides, it's not like they were mean to me. They just didn't fuss over me. Sure, Emma would throw some snide commands my way from time to time, but I just took it as typical mean mother-in-law banter. Plus, she was often out and about attending theater performances, shopping, or dining with friends. Since I was still working, we didn't cross paths that much, so her sarcastic remarks didn't really bother me. If my husband didn't make an issue of it, there was no reason for me to bring it up either. However, being thrifty since childhood, Emma's reckless spending did bother me a bit. It felt wasteful. Nevertheless, since neither Benjamin nor my husband voiced any concerns about it, I didn't feel it was my place to chime in. I kept my thoughts to myself. But after my husband passed away, seeing Emma shopping and indulging in luxuries with a carefree attitude left me feeling uneasy. Benjamin was heartbroken. A man who was like a son to him had passed away, and yet Emma showed no signs of sorrow, which only made me more angry, I confessed. "Emma, please try to be supportive of Benjamin. Be there for him. Even though he's pretending to be okay, he's really lonely," I pleaded. "Excuse me. Why on earth would I listen to you? What's your angle, huh? Trying to worm your way into our family for some of the inheritance?" "Since I have never even thought about that," I retorted firmly. "Well, Ethan's gone now, so why don't you just leave already?" Emma shot back. "I won't be leaving. Benjamin has said he's fine with me staying as long as I need to," I stated calmly. Emma shot me an irritated look but didn't say anything further. She probably felt relieved knowing she didn't have to worry about me inheriting Benjamin's wealth. However, 3 years after my husband's death, Emma was becoming increasingly annoyed with me still being around. Her sarcastic remarks were becoming more frequent and more hurtful. After all, whether at home or at the office, I'm always with Benjamin. Emma seemed to think I was buttering him up, scheming to take over his fortune. It hurt to be perceived in such a light, and I began to question myself, wondering whether it was right to stay in a house where the husband was no longer present. I could sense Benjamin's situation at the office every day. It might be better for me to return to my single mom instead of living here and enduring Emma's sarcasm. Mom is turning 60 this year, and last year marked the 3rd anniversary of my dad's passing. I had been contemplating my future when Benjamin collapsed. He was fortunate to survive, but there was a high possibility he would need caregiving even after discharge from the hospital. At the company, things didn't immediately fall apart when Benjamin collapsed, since he had properly trained his successors. However, Emma's attitude noticeably shifted. The man got what he deserved. "He has been so stingy lately," Emma remarked one day. "What do you mean stingy?" "Our credit card limit has been decreased. Our living expenses have been cut. Is the company in trouble?" I inquired. "I don't think that's the case, Emma. As it happens, you missed your husband's 3rd anniversary ceremony last year due to a hangover from the previous day's wild night out, revealed by the credit card bill. It seemed Benjamin, who rarely checked on your spending, had investigated this time. Missing our son's 3rd memorial was too much, even for him," I informed her. In his fury, Benjamin decided to limit the money Emma could use. That said, she was getting more than enough money for a normal life, so there was no need to complain. Benjamin himself said that the company might be in trouble. Your absence hit him hard, and before he knew it, things had turned sour, I added. "Don't play dumb, you know it too. All because we lost a single son. How does that justify ruining the company?" Emma exclaimed. Her nostrils flaring, Emma began to launch into a tirade about Benjamin. Hearing her call him dull and annoying left a sour taste in my mouth. Who did she think had been funding her lavish lifestyle? Even if Benjamin's company was in trouble, she could at least offer to support him. As I pondered, Emma uttered something even more unthinkable. "So, I have decided to divorce him." "Pardon? Just think about it. The company might be in danger. What if we end up in debt? It's only wise to settle the property and leave before the money runs out. Are you planning to abandon Benjamin when he needs help?" "I can't handle a bedridden old man with no money left. I'm going to take what I can before his will is gone and say goodbye," she explained as if she had concocted a brilliant plan. Emma's words, spoken as if she had devised a genius strategy, brought a feeling of disgust over me. However, just a week after that conversation, Benjamin's condition drastically deteriorated, and he passed away all too quickly. He's gone too, just 3 years after my husband passed. Everything seemed to go dark. Benjamin's voice was so similar to my husband's. Sometimes when we talked, it felt like I was talking to my husband. Not being able to talk to him, not being able to hear his voice anymore. It was too much to bear, I lamented. "Oh no, that man has gone to the afterlife." What perfect timing. He still had assets left, right? His company didn't collapse yet. Maybe he died before taking on debt. For my sake, this means all remaining ounces to remind how fantastic. "Emma, you sound pleased even though Benjamin has just passed away," Emma remarked, seemingly fixated on the inheritance. "Oh, you noticed too. Too bad for you though, you're not getting any inheritance." "I would have preferred Benjamin to be alive than any inheritance," I retorted, deeply saddened by her callousness. "Don't give me that high-minded act now. You're just pretending to be tough, trying to impress everyone, aren't you? Even if you asked, there isn't a single cent to give you." Despite Benjamin's death, it seemed like all Emma could think about was money. How could she be so heartless? Thinking of that, I feel sorry for Benjamin, which only added to my grief, I reflected. "So you don't have to come to the funeral." "What, strangers are not allowed at the funeral?" "I see, that's how it is," Emma stated, failing to grasp reality. "Are you sure about that?" she continued. "Of course, now that he's gone, I, his wife, am in charge." "Understood," I responded firmly. 2 days later, Benjamin's funeral was held quietly with only close relatives, respecting his wishes not to have a grand company funeral. After the funeral, I noticed a bunch of missed calls from Emma on my phone, but I didn't return them. Emma attempted to reach me many times afterward, but I completely ignored her. Then, one day, she suddenly showed up at my workplace. "I finally got you. What are you thinking? You're not answering my calls," Emma exclaimed as she confronted me. Emma, what can I do for you?" I replied cautiously. "Still messing around. I was kicked out of the funeral home. You were the one who should have been left out. I called you so many times on the day. What's the meaning of this, huh?" Emma demanded. "Well, you're not with my mother-in-law anymore, Emma," I explained. "What?" "Well, you said that strangers are not allowed at the funeral, so we had a family-only funeral." And then I asked Emma, who's now a stranger, to refrain from attending. "You are the stranger," I clarified. No, the stranger here is Emma." "What?" "When Benjamin fell ill and was told he would be bedridden, Emma served him with divorce papers. But those divorce papers, I had submitted them as Benjamin asked me to. So, Emma is a stranger to us in name and reality," I revealed. Back then, Benjamin had shared a lot with me. It seems he told Emma that the company was in danger and that he might end up in debt. If that happened, they couldn't live the life they had been living. From then on, it would be a modest life for just the two of them. He thought that if Emma was willing to support him through that, they could continue as a couple. But at his words, Emma frowned and coldly responded, "Then it's probably better to split before you're burdened with debt." Benjamin collapsed 1 month after that conversation with Emma. Even after he woke up, he knew his health was not good. But he hid it and told Emma that he was in such a state that he would have to let go of the company, and he would probably have to rely on her for care. As expected, Emma then proposed a divorce. She probably wanted to divorce before he was burdened with debt and get some money through property division. But Benjamin, who had realized his limited time left, had already donated most of his personal assets except the house to children, animal shelters, and volunteer groups. He had already appointed talented subordinates as presidents of his companies and transferred all the shares. So there was almost no property left to give to Emma. When he told her this, the color drained from Emma's face. I recounted. "So, I don't get anything?" Emma questioned. "Well, strictly speaking, it's not exactly zero. I did leave a few $100s in savings," I replied. "A few $100s? That's hardly enough," Emma scoffed. Even though Benjamin had told me this beforehand, hearing it from my mouth, I could see how thorough Benjamin was. He must not have wanted to split any property with Emma. Maybe it was Emma's attitude when her husband passed that pushed Benjamin to be this resolute. "But there is the house. If I sell that?" I started. "Oh yes, please move out of that house as soon as possible. I'm staying with Mom for now, but I plan to move back eventually," Emma interrupted. "What are you saying? You're a complete stranger. You have even less right than I do," I retorted. "As I said earlier, the stranger here is you, Emma, who is already divorced. Also, the house was originally inherited by Benjamin from his grandfather, so it doesn't count for property division during divorce. So, why do you have the right to live in that house?" I questioned. "Because when I got married, Benjamin and I adopted each other," I revealed. "What?" "So, I have the right to inherit Benjamin's property. Benjamin left me that house," Emma explained, hardly believing it herself. "Isn't it hardly believable? The idea of adopting me had come from Benjamin himself. When we got married, I didn't think about it much at the time. I was going to be marrying his son, and in his eyes, that made me his daughter. So I went along with that option. But when my husband passed away, I kept quiet about this. I was afraid that if I mentioned it, Emma would think that I was after the family fortune," I clarified. "So I have work to do. Could you please leave?" I concluded, ending the conversation. I informed Emma that any communication should go through our lawyers. Seeking counsel from our company's legal team, I promptly called security to escort Emma off the premises. I made it unequivocally clear that she was prohibited from returning to the company. Despite Emma's fierce resistance, when I threatened to involve the authorities, she quietly departed. She attempted to contact me numerous times afterward, but I ignored her completely. Her relentless efforts to stake a claim on our fortune only led to a deluge of complaints to our lawyer. Our company was far from going under, and Emma couldn't understand why. She argued that if it were bankrupt, there should be assets to share. However, the company had already been transferred to a successor before Benjamin's passing, and it was no longer in his possession. Therefore, there was nothing left for Emma to claim. As for the family's real estate properties, they had already been settled in the divorce before Benjamin's death. Our lawyer patiently explained that Emma had no right to any of it. Our lawyer, somewhat exasperated, confided that Emma had been quite persistent. Emma, under the impression that she was entitled to a share of the will, had recklessly accrued debt on her credit card. Now she was stuck paying it off, working multiple part-time jobs from morning till night. However, her financial goals were not my concern. Emma was 10 years younger than Benjamin. They had married when she was 25, and now she was 55. They had been married for almost 30 years, which meant that Emma was entitled to survivor benefits from the Social Security taxes Benjamin had paid, even after their divorce. However, she would only be eligible for these benefits when she turned 60, which was still 5 years away. Furthermore, she needed to have filed a claim for a division of the pension within 2 years of the divorce. I wasn't sure if Emma was aware of this, nor did I have any intention of enlightening her. I had no sympathy or obligation to worry about Emma's well-being. So here I am now, living in the home I once shared with my mom, Benjamin, and my husband. My days pass calmly and peacefully. There are moments when I remember my husband and Benjamin, and I can't help but shed tears. But remembering their warm smiles, I too want to live each day with a smile on my face.